This is episode 35 of the Gauntlet podcast. My name is Jason.
My name is Steve.
I'm Rich.
And I'm Dan.
Awesome. Well, let's get going talking about the games we've been playing recently. Your list is about 500 long, Steve. So I'm going to just going to cherry pick the games I want you to talk about.
Yes.
So actually the one I'm probably most interested in is Mysterium. That's a board game, right?
Yeah, I know. I noticed you bought a copy of that.
I did, but it's not for me though. I bought it for my sister, but yeah.
Sure, you'll get to play. You'll want to play.
Yeah. Well, tell us, how is it? I've been hearing really great things about it. So.
All right. So Mysterium is, for those of you familiar with Dixit, Dixit is a game that is played with these cards that have bizarre surrealist imagery on them. And Dixit's fun, but it's kind of light and, I don't know. I've always found it at least slightly unsatisfying. Mysterium takes the surrealist imagery cards of Dixit, and not literally, it doesn't use Dixit cards, but it takes that concept and uses it in a very interesting and thematically compelling way. It's a cooperative game where one player plays the ghost of a murdered person haunting a house, and everybody else plays psychic investigators coming to the house to try and solve the murder, basically. And the ghost player is only allowed to communicate with the other players via these cards to pass along the information of who did it in which room and with which murder, with which implement of murder, basically. So it's like Dixit meets Clue.
Okay, yeah.
With this great mechanic where one player can't say anything except through the cards.
Well, so that's an interesting thing. Is it fun for the person who's the ghost who can't talk the whole time?
So I haven't been the ghost player yet, but the person who had played before and happily volunteered, and certainly seems to be having fun.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it could be, I think it can be sort of the frustrating type of fun because he can still hear what everyone is saying. It's like, okay, you guys, I think it's this suspect right here. Meanwhile, the ghost person's just fuming behind their screen because you're missing all their perfectly obvious clues.
Yeah.
But it's a really fun game that works, perfectly. As far as I'm concerned, okay, I've only played one session, but it works really well. And for the price point is a gorgeous game. Like, it looks really, really good.
It's got so many cards and so much art. Yeah, it does seem like a real bargain
not even
in that regard.
The additional stuff, the round timer, which is like a beaten up, cracked clock.
Huh.
And it's cracked so that the face has fallen off to reveal only the amount of rounds that you might have in the game, right?
Ha.
And that sort of thing. It's great attention to detail. You're also during the game you have these little vote tokens where you're trying to correctly guess the suspect the ghost is trying to get you to guess. But everybody else is doing the same with their own suspects. Basically, you're getting a pool of, people who were there, and then in the end game, narrowing it down to who actually did it.
Okay.
So for each person for each player, I should say, you're trying to, get a suspect person. And for each suspect, you have a room, and each room you have an implement of murder, right? And as the other people are putting down their votes on who they think the ghost is trying to get them to select, you put down little tokens that indicate if you think they are guessing correctly or not, and you will get in-game bonuses based on how well you predict the other players are doing. And you'll have like 3 correct guess tokens and 3 incorrect guess tokens, and you have to go through all those before you reset again. So you have to say, I think you're screwing it up sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you'll do a better job in the end game the better you do with that. That's also a lot of fun. I think that's an addition to the American version. I might be wrong, but
yeah, I was gonna say. So this is the American version. Then are there differences from whatever Hungarian or whatever the original? One is?
Yeah, it was originally Polish, I think, and I think there's a Ukrainian version and maybe an Italian as well. But I've heard from people who played it before it was translated, and they were just going on very poorly, Polish to English translated instructions that they printed off the internet. That it's. I think the art is different. And
that's what I was going to ask, yeah.
The art's different, and there are rules differences, because there were people at BGG Board Game Geek Convention in Dallas, this previous one, who were familiar with rules for one, trying to play things incorrectly in the Ukrainian version or whatever they were playing with. But the American one, that's all I can testify to. It's great. I love it.
Cool.
If I weren't totally broke, I'd buy it.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. Well, great. Yeah, I can't wait to try that one out. I get my sister like one like really cool, well-regarded board game every year for Christmas. And so, Mysterium was the one that won out. So I'm glad to hear that it's pretty good. Let's go to Rich. Rich, I know you had an old school Tuesday playing Stars Without Number. How did that go?
It was pretty fun. Stars Without Number is by Kevin Crawford, the scene nominee thing that he did. It was the first game that he put out. It's a sandbox style OSR space adventure type of game. I like some of the streamlining that he's done for the game. Starts Without Number is it's got your 6 stats, right? You roll straight down the line. You've got some classes you pick, a little bit of background that open or unlock some skills. Kind of your standard fare. But I really like that he's made the classic armor class ascending. That makes some sense. Hold on a second. I may have to take that back. I think that it actually goes the other way around for armor class now that I'm thinking about it. Oh my goodness. You add the target's armor class. So yeah, the higher your armor class, the worse off you are. So if you're naked, you have a 10 AC. Sorry. So the ascending armor class is worse. It goes down as you get more armor, which is weird. The idea of wearing big metal plate, but hey, it's a OSR game. So you've got to do that thing.
That's the thing that you do. So, I mean, is it basically Dungeons and Dragons, but in space?
It's Dungeons and Dragons in space. I do like that you roll 2d6 for, stats, or for skills. Kind of makes me feel like I'm playing Apocalypse World.
but in a very limited way, yes.
I detected a little bit of judgment in that statement. In what ways does it perhaps fall short of that ideal?
Well, it's got this really, John Harper made his own character sheet. It's really pretty. So
Harper's character sheets are
I wouldn't say it falls
looking.
short in character sheet. I'd say it's just as pretty as Apocalypse World. I mean, it's fun. It's I want to try it some more. I feel like we didn't really get into combat. We did a few skill checks. It was a lot of that kind of classic OSR thing of like, I'm going to describe this thing. You have to be proactive. I'm going to just throw you in this slightly bland situation and you can flounder or not. And we were in this like 1930s place and had to figure out how cars work. And it was weird.
So you chose to flounder, it sounds like?
I am very good at floundering regardless of system.
All right.
Awesome. Well, so I'm led to believe that Stars Without Number's big deal is the fact that it's kind of a sandbox space adventure thing. Did you get a chance to experience any of that aspect of the game?
I could feel that it was very flexible. I don't feel like the one session that we had, which half of it was character generation and a bit of
okay. All right,
I don't feel like I can give a good answer on that. Although there's another game tomorrow night.
That's true. That's true. And I'll be on that one. So I had to miss that first session because I got sick.
You missed out.
I know. Well, cool. I'll look forward to playing that tomorrow with you guys. And does anybody else have anything else they want to say about Stars Without Number?
Nope.
All right, cool. Well, let's keep going. Let's see, Dan, what have you been playing lately? What is Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes?
So it's a party game, and it's like on Steam or something. You can play it on a laptop or something, but
it's a video game.
Yes. Well, sort of.
Oh, okay.
So it's originally made for VR. And so,
of course it was.
Right. But so anyway, I've got the Gear VR thing. So I've got like the portable phone based VR now, and they have it for that. And so you have like the phone in front of you. And so one person sees this bomb in VR, right? And it's like this nice cartoony sort of bomb, but it has a bunch of different places for different modules. And the modules will have like buttons that are different colored or wires that are different colored. Then the other people who can't see the bomb have a printed out like notebook called the bomb diffusing manual. The people who have the bomb diffusing manual, they're like the experts, right? And so it's in every movie that has ever had a bomb, they're on the radio telling the person who's defusing the bomb what things to cut. Because like when you're looking at the bomb, you can't see the manual and vice versa. So you're describing like, okay, there's a panel and it has 6 wires and there's the top one's black and then it's like black, yellow, black, red, blue. And then they're looking through this manual and there's just rules for everything. So it's like, if there's 5 wires, if there's 1 yellow wire, cut the 4th wire. Otherwise, if the bomb has 2 or more batteries, cut the 3rd wire. Otherwise, if the serial number ends in a 1 or a 3, cut the 5th wire. You're like going through that all the while, like, there's, of course, like, the countdown timer on the bomb ticking down. And, like, just to be dicks about it, you're defusing this bomb on a table next to an alarm clock that just randomly goes off sometimes. So you have to put the bomb down and pick up the alarm clock and turn on, like, snooze the alarm.
Nice.
Or the lights in the room will just turn off and you have to, like, put the bomb down and turn the lights back on. So, but it's great. And so as you play it, you know, you get more and more proficient and start dealing with bigger and bigger bombs. And, it's fantastic.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. About how long does a round last on that? Like,
well, so you can set the timer on the bomb. So a round lasts however long you set the bomb timer to or less. So typically like 5 minutes.
All right. Cool.
I saw somebody, a group playing that on a YouTube video I watched. And I had no context for this. I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
And so the person actually doing the defusing was just reading off instructions as soon as possible. Before I knew what he was saying, he was, you know, reading off the wires and the batteries and the codes and whatever. And there were like 4 other people playing with him, and they'd read something back, and it was going, it was as well-oiled a machine as seemed possible. I don't think it, like, it was happening way too quickly for me to process. And they did it. And they had, I believe, less than 1 second before the bomb had.
Yeah, I think I saw that video, and like that's kind of where I want to get with this game, where I can actually competently instruct 4 different people. Because he was just like reading off like what he sees on this thing, and he's like, work on that for a while, and goes to somebody else, right? So like we never quite got up to that level of proficiency, but we had like 2 people going pretty well, 2 experts working on things while the defuser did their stuff.
Did you ever fail?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What happens when the bomb goes off?
Oh, it just like, there's an explosion noise and your vision fades to black.
Okay. It's not super jump scare?
No.
All right.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like the future. That sounds pretty badass.
It is,
I have to admit. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, awesome.
I'm done with role-playing games, by the way.
Are you done? Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, no, I just defuse bombs now.
Awesome. Let's go back up to Steve. Steve, I know you've been playing Apocalypse World Furiosa. That's Jason Morningstar's little hack thing, right? Of Apocalypse World. What's it all about?
Well, I've only played 1 session. My list of like 25 games or whatever is 80% cheap con stuff.
Right, yeah.
That is it takes the base rules for Apocalypse World and adds more or less a comparatively light sheen of Mad Max on top of it. And the session I played in was tons of fun, and it was 90 miles an hour, just pure action pretty much, which seems appropriate. Your character start off a little more messed up. You start off with, I think you start with an extra advance or an extra, whatever you call it. I've been playing non-Apocalypse World derived games too long, I forget. You start off with an extra move that you wouldn't normally, but, you sacrifice by, you have a debility of some sort. So you have a stat permanently lowered. To fit in with the movie where Mad Max is a crazy person and, the war boys or whatever they're called, they are, you know, they're radiation poisoned or whatever.
They're dying. Yeah.
And, you take one of those and explain it in the fiction. It has like more vehicular rules, and it has, the GM was using, I think he was using an alternate set of, combat rules. Something else was maybe non-Furiosa was in there, so I'm not sure which is which.
Gotcha.
But the rules work really, really well, and it comes with these great little top-down vehicle silhouettes. So you've got
okay, cool.
You've got little motorcycles and little little vehicles of war and all sorts of Mad Maxy stuff that you can cut out and like tape a penny to the backside so it doesn't fly off in the fan or whatever. And we used those to differentiate or to denote positioning and that sort of thing. And it was one of the most action-packed, game sessions I've ever played, and it worked great. And feels very Mad Max.
Yeah, that's good. I'm curious about one thing. The game you've described doesn't really sound like Apocalypse World to me. And I'm wondering if, do certain types of, classic Apocalypse World moves, open your mind to the psychic maelstrom or read a person, does that stuff come out in a salient way in this Furiosa game? Or could you even, you only had one session, I know, so maybe it's unclear.
So, like I said, ours was pretty much action. I don't know that read a person happened. Maybe it did once. But open your mind to the psychic maelstrom. So there's this interesting bit in Mad Max Fury Road, right?
Yeah.
Where, Max who again is a crazy person, hallucinates this girl accusing him of letting her die or whatever, right? And then I don't remember exactly what happens in the vision, but something compels him to smack his palm against his head, right?
Right. Yeah.
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 And then later on in the movie, for some reason, he's compelled to do the exact same thing, and it stops a crossbow bolt, I think, from piercing his brain. And so it kind of is in there, and you just explain it that way. It's not quite as overt as standard Apocalypse World. It's more, intuition and hints about hints about things in the future, and you just like get a feeling that something might be a good idea. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I imagine if you were to play it multiple sessions, there are going to be points when the cars stop, right? Because in the movie, the cars stop, briefly, but they do. Yeah. And you have conversations and you actually and so I'd imagine that's where you'd have a chance to like do some dialogue and stuff.
Yeah.
But,
we had a very small amount. And it's also a fairly brutal game. I'm quite surprised I didn't die. It was I think I took another debility, lost an arm or something. So I was down 2 out of 5 stats by the time the one session ended. It's very death spirally and, which I love, which is great. Yeah, I highly recommend it, especially since it's just a free add-on to the Apocalypse World rules.
Yeah. We'll have to, we'll post a link up so people can find that.
Good.
Yeah, I remember when Jason was posting about that, like periodically on G+, but I haven't had a chance to really look at it yet. So, which is surprising because I actually quite love that movie, but.
So have you seen the Goblin Quest hack that's Mad Maxy? You're all war boys.
No.
Yeah. It's called like Witness Me or something. You're all war boys. And so you go out in a blaze of glory, Goblin Quest style.
Yeah, that could work.
All right.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. Basically, anything where there's like a group of people where they all die one by one, you can do Goblin Quest out of, right? I mean, yeah.
I played a ward boy, by the way, and got to say "Witness Me" several times. And I had a special set of silver dice that my friends Mark and April had given me, that I would put into my dice cup and rattle around like some spray paint, and then those would be my dice for whatever.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
Good move. I like it.
Nice.
Awesome. Hey, hadn't you played that Furiosa version of Apocalypse World, Rich? Or am I making that up?
You are making that up. I have not.
Okay.
It's interesting.
Well, let's talk about the Apocalypse World game that you have played, which is the normal one, over play-by-post, like we're doing right now. Actually, you've got a bunch of play-by-post stuff going on, as always. I'll let you kind of take that in whatever order you'd like. So go for it.
We'll talk about the Big Mall, which is the one that I'm running for Gauntlet.
Yeah.
From the last time that we recorded, we had Thanksgiving, and I was in Disney for a number of days, so it was very light on the posting, but we've got our first scenes mostly done. I'm really loving the variety of characters and the color of the world.
All the characters are so interesting. I'm still, there's still like one or two that I haven't caught up on the full stories yet based off what's been put down in the post. And I look forward to doing that later on, but I'm really digging it. I'm digging, the one thing that I'm liking about this play-by-post versus, say, our live games is that because people have time to think about what they're going to write, they have time to editorialize a little bit, and they can kind of make sure the language sounds good. They can make sure that they sound consistent with the world. And it's a level of like world consistency that I don't think you get in live play. And so that's very, very interesting. I'm digging it. The one tricky thing I'm having with it, it's a personal thing really, but which is, my gaming, like the way I organize my gaming, it's like, it's calendared out. It's calendared out way in advance. So I know that on Thursday, I've got to have a dungeon ready to go by 7:30 p.m. because I'm going to run Dungeon World at that time and I got to have that ready. Like, and so like, I'm really good at like organizing my whole life that way, right? I'm very calendar oriented. And this game is, because it's always going, I'm having like these moments where I kind of feel like it's always on, and I think it's going to take me a minute to kind of get accustomed to that. And I think the only way I'm going to get through it is to, or at least successfully, is to like basically just set aside like a certain time every morning to just, do my posts and to respond and read things, once I get caught up. But yeah, you've done play-by-post a lot more, like, and so Rich, you're probably accustomed to the sort of ebb and flow of it, but that's been kind of tricky for me so far.
Yeah, and I hear you. I'm actually, for me right now, I'm still trying to figure out the time zones and post rates, like when people are frequently on. because we have a person in Hong Kong and we have a person who's in Norway. And so they're far advanced in the time frame from me. And I think we have at least one West Coaster. So, I'm trying to find when's that sweet spot. And that's why I started off the game with everybody broken into individual scenes just to get a vibe on that. And I'm starting to combo people up based on when I feel like they're on.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I mean, I've stayed pretty solo so far with my character. I think it's fictionally appropriate. And I think it also is just kind of good for me personally because it kind of lets me go at the pace I need to go at, because some of the other players are a lot more like they're paying attention to it and are more actively responding to things like just more frequently than I am. And, I don't know like how important that becomes in the long term, like is it okay just to post once a day? Like I don't know. But I'm curious to see how it kind of stretches out.
Well again, I know we're going long in the tooth, but that's also why I want to pick up this week. I'll be doing the first kind of hangout type deal to catch everybody up with what's going on.
It's a smart move, actually. It's a good move. Yeah, I think that's going to be really cool. But I'm loving it so far. I think it's great. Every time I sit down with one of the scenes of one of the characters, I always have a good time reading it. It's like, it's cool. Yeah, it's neat experience. I'm digging it. Is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, except I've got some posts queued up and ready to go as soon as we're done recording.
Yeah. Awesome.
Hey, I have a question about kind of play by post in general, Rich, since you do a ton of it. How do you deal with the pacing on something like that? Because, normally you would have a session, right? And you would sort of have an arc that goes through the session. So do you have it broken up into chapters or something? Do you keep in mind like a number of scenes before I want some sort of like climax and resolution to like release tension? Or is it like a constant ramp or what?
That is a great question because there are games where the mechanics are oriented around sessions, like Apocalypse World. A lot of the Apocalypse World stuff needs a session, and I like it as an idea of a chapter. What I've found if you asked me this 2 years ago, I would say 6 to 10 scenes was about right. I'm actually stretching scenes a little bit longer and only doing scene breaks if people actually change significant position or if they combo up with other player characters. So the scenes are a little bit longer. Really, I go by kind of the amount of time and the amount of story that has transpassed. So at this point, we're really early in the first scenes for half of the group. I would say we're probably going to go another week to 2 weeks before the session ends based on this. Now, I think it's going to pick up now that we don't have Thanksgiving holiday.
Yeah, the holiday really slowed things down a lot.
Yeah, a session's like 2 to 3 weeks for me is what I've found in real time.
Okay. Since you're the GM of the game, how much time do you have to put into a game like this where you've got, how many players do you have in the game?
We have 7.
Oh, okay. So where you have 7 people that you sort of have to at least be somewhat on the ball about responding to.
I would say at this point I'm spending about an hour to 2 hours a day on it now that I'm active, but I'm playing a lot of catch up from the Thanksgiving holiday. I feel kind of guilty because I did like no posts for several days, and I thought I would be doing some late at night after Disney, but that didn't work out.
Okay.
I can imagine being at Disneyland all day or Disney World all day and not wanting to do that afterwards, but yeah. Cool. Is there anything else you guys want to say about, or anything you want to say about it, Rich, as far as
no.
Big Mall goes, or what are we calling it? Big Mall?
Big Mall Apocalypse. It's all kinds of names.
Yeah. Cool. Hey, Dan, I know you've been playing Sweet Agatha. That's a cool game. I gather I'm just guessing you played that with April.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, so tell us about Sweet Agatha.
It is a game that comes in a sealed envelope, and you open the envelope and pull it out, and it is a just gorgeous, maybe 25-page, 30-page little booklet full of full of pictures and text and stuff about it's labeled as an investigation journal. And so the idea is that this girl named Agatha, and she ran with a rough crowd and sort of was getting her life back together, but then she disappeared. Right. And so it's after the disappearance, and you have this manual that has a bunch of pictures you've taken and things that you found in her apartment and stuff like that to try to figure out what happened to her. You have one player who's kind of reading through the book and cutting out parts of it, just literally cutting pieces of the book out. And they're these little triangles, and they have a clue on the back side of them. And so you assemble all these clues as you're reading it, and then you tell a story in 10 scenes that's the conclusion of your investigation, that where you discover what actually happened to her or whatever. It's very open-ended. about what your story actually becomes about. But yeah, so that's basically it. There's very little guidance on how to actually do that. One of the players is playing, I think, the truth, and one of them is a reader. And so the reader is the one who's doing the investigation in the first person, and the truth picks 3 clues for every scene to introduce. And who else has played this here?
Nope.
I have. It was a long time ago, but yeah.
What did you think about it?
I liked it. I mean, my experience was probably a little skewed because I was playing with my sister. I got it from my sister for 1 year for her birthday, and we sat and played it. And I think we were a little drunk.
Okay.
While we were playing it. We were a little drunk, and she's actually not super good at role-playing games, or she's not super familiar with role-playing games and stuff. And so we probably didn't have an optimum experience, if I'm being honest, but I kind of thought it seemed, I mean, I don't know. I kind of wish we had been more paying attention better and and maybe treating it a little more seriously
Here's
than we
the
actually
thing.
were.
I think you may have had the optimal experience with it because there are issues with it. I discovered that I have played another game by the same guy, and that game is Pickets and Blinds. And it plays very similarly to Pickets and Blinds, which Pickets and Blinds, you read it, it sounds great. There's a list.
We had kind of an issue with that, as I recall.
Of clues. Yeah, there's these big lists of clues that are awesome to read, but don't necessarily make sense in the story you're telling. And so you're cramming these clues into the story. And so we found the same issue with Sweet Agatha. It was hard to make the clues make sense in the context of the story. And you're obligated to introduce 3 of these clues in every scene, which means that new things are being discovered left and right. Agatha's smuggling diamonds, and she's a DJ at a pirate radio station, and she's got a stray dog for some reason. And all of these things get introduced, but none of them necessarily tie together. And so beyond that, it's difficult to make interesting scenes that follow any sort of arc that actually introduce these things. Yeah. So over the course of the game, the structure of the game degraded around us because we initially started playing it how we thought we were supposed to, but that didn't make a lot of sense and wasn't satisfying. And so then we were well, I'm just going to show you all the clues that I want to introduce, and then we'll work together to make this make sense. And then that wasn't great either. It was better. Yeah. And then at the end, the last 5 scenes, we were just fuck it. Throw all the clues on the table and we'll piece them together into something that sort of makes sense. And so we did that. And that was actually a lot of fun. But the actual role-playing part of it, we didn't get a lot out of. So
yeah. I mean, I'm trying to remember. My memories of it are so hazy. I mean, I remember enjoying it. I remember liking it. And I also remember thinking oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, it's a super cool thing. But I don't know that it actually encourages you to tell good stories.
I mean, I can kind of see how you might have that experience. I can kind of, that reads to me, I think. Yeah. Based off my memory of it.
Well, the good news is that now you guys have played it, now you can go back and play it again.
Wait.
Right. No, you tore it all up, and so you have to buy it again.
Wah, wah. Oh,
is this available in PDF so you can at least...
I don't know about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question, actually.
You said there were 10 scenes?
Yes.
So there's 30 clues?
30 clues.
Jesus.
Yeah.
There is, oh man.
And so you go through initially and you separate out the ones that, it says separate out the ones that seem interesting. So I got the interesting clues out, and these are all diamond smugglers and foreigners showing up at our apartment and stuff like that. There's some pretty boring ones that are just the dump. Right? And I realized about halfway through, I really should have just gotten a whole bunch of boring ones because then it wouldn't have made the story quite so ridiculous.
Yeah. The simpler ones you can kind of work in easier, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
but so I don't know. We ended up, Agatha was just fucking involved in everything. Some of it made sense. Some of it didn't. We didn't really figure out why she was smuggling diamonds or had all the drugs under her floorboard or faded Polaroids that might be of naked bodies or maybe car parts. That was a clue. So yeah.
Well, I mean, in some ways it kind of, in some ways it almost sounds like Twin Peaks a little bit, in the sense that Twin Peaks is a little,
I could see that.
Gonzo, right?
And there's there's just weird characters on a lot of clues that make basically no sense, right? It's a rabbi who can't finish a novel. All right, great. Throw that guy in here too. Why not?
Awesome. Well, Sweet Agatha, is there anything else you want to say about it?
No. I mean, I think it's really interesting. And just as a thing to hold in your hands, it's super cool. And the experience of cutting it all up and getting it all ready is great. It's just that The story at the end that we told, not great.
That's fair. All right, cool. Well, so Steve, I think the last thing we're going to talk about on your list is, and I'm quoting your note here, your cool session of Dread set in the Aliens universe. Tell us about Dread.
So it was a convention, so it was like a 4-hour slot that we might have pushed to, 4.5. And we probably had, I want to say 6 players, maybe it was just 5 plus the GM. But Dread, back up real quick, just in case somehow somebody's listening to this podcast.
For some reason, they don't know what it is. Yeah.
Honestly, that seems unlikely. But Dread is the horror game where instead of like making dice rolls or pulling a card or whatever in order to get your character to accomplish something, you pull blocks of a Jenga tower, set it back on top of the tower. If the tower doesn't collapse, you're good. You did it. If the tower collapses, you're dead or you're dead soon, right?
You're out of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, as you said, this was set in the Aliens universe. So that gave the GM good excuse to use pre-made maps of a Weyland-Yutani facility from this book.
Right.
But he did a cool thing. So I love Dread in theory, and in practice, I think it has a high prep time. And there are other issues. We talked about it on our,
I think it's a little long in the tooth. I've said that before. I don't mind saying that right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it needs, even honestly, even Epi, he and Emily have done like other different versions of Dread, right?
Yeah,
like
Dread House.
I just think that in Dread Gesh of Duke Volku.
Right.
I just feel like the standard Dread is, probably needs some freshening up.
Right.
But,
as we talked about in our, Dreaming of a Second Edition podcast?
Yeah, I think so.
Episode 3 or 4 or 5 or something. Anyway. So the GM did use one thing that would lower prep time, and it worked spectacularly, so I wanted to mention it. So Dread, in character creation, you have these character questionnaires, right? And the questionnaires are just a set of, it's like 10 to 15 questions. They're sort of leading questions, the way you might find in an Apocalypse World derived game or something, the way that game encourages you to use them.
Or Dread.
Right. Yeah. But one of those things we talk about constantly instead of just frequently. And it, each one is going to be different for every character. And so if you're preparing 6 character questionnaires, that can take a while unless you're just stealing something from the internet, right? And so what Jonathan, our GM, did was he had the same set of questions, but there were like 30 of them. And it was the same for each player, but it wide open enough that it let us define our characters appropriately and, enough that we felt we had really good characters going in. And so it was questions like, when did you first know you wanted to be a insert the thing you are, right?
Okay.
What was your most horrifying memory, and what do you plan to do to avoid that happening ever again? What nightmare were you having right before you woke up today? That sort of thing. And so they were maybe a little vaguer than you might find in most of these things, but it resulted in, when we went around the table introducing our characters and answering the questions, it was my favorite of the Dread character intros. And answering these and then, reading off the character questionnaires, that was like an hour and a half of our 4 hours, right? But it did not feel like wasted time. It was really entertaining, and we were all, set out to create characters that the others would want to engage with.
Right.
And though he had to write probably twice as many questions as normal, that's the equivalent of questions enough for 2-player characters instead of 6.
Right.
So vastly reduced the prep time, and it worked great. And I might have to try that next time around.
Huh. Interesting. Yeah, interesting. Is there anything else we want to say about Dread?
Oh, also, we got to test out a ballsier method of Jenga block pulling.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what is that?
Typically you search for a block that's somewhat loose, pull it out, put it on the top, right? This other guy and I, while we were waiting for food to arrive Dread session, we were just screwing around with the Onyx Dread set. We had a completely black Dread set, which was awesome. Perfect for, or Jenga set, perfect for Dread. And we, after a game or two, we decided, okay, let's just, every time it's our turn, we're just going to flick a block. And so we would go up to the tower and just pick any block, flick it. And if you do it fast enough, the tower won't wobble crazily. And we got it down to a block on each level for about 10 levels before it finally collapsed. And then breaking that move out when there's a ton of tension during an actual game of Dread to somebody unsuspecting is great fun, especially when they scream.
Nice.
Cool. Awesome. Well, let's go on to the next game then. Let's see, Rich. Oh, I want to hear about your solo play-by-post. Is that, am I reading?
Yeah, maybe a misnomer. It's one GM, one player.
Okay,
Oh,
so it's not just like you writing a blog.
I think that's just novel writing, Rich. I'm not sure that's, yeah.
There's an entire Google Plus community called Lone Wolf Roleplaying that does, I'm going to stop calling it solo because that is totally confusing, but to me it's like solo as in one player. But no, this is one GM, one player. This is the co-GM for our Big Mall game. And we will always have a game where I'm running a game for him as the only player. He's running a game for me as the only player. It's just what we do because that's what we do. This one is new. We've hit this groove over the last year and a half of playing play-by-post together, where I think we finally hit that point. You ever been with a group where you really lock in and you're able to kind of step away from whatever system, whatever social contract, whatever, you just got a vibe going. And we just started this brand new game, and he said, I have an idea that this may tend towards your character becoming something supernatural or superpower, but let's just freeform it for a little bit. And that always makes me personally nervous, but I trust Paul. So I said, sure, that sounds awesome. At this point, we've played through the first 3 days of a college freshman's arrival, leaving Minnesota where they've grown up and arriving at this college where they got a scholarship kind of out of the blue in New Mexico. And we're using an actual college, but just renamed it. We get awesome Google Maps and cool, pictures from Google Maps and the like.
Nice.
So you're not playing a specific game? This is just like a free role play thing between you and Paul?
It's effectively like a prelude to actually coming into system. So it's kind of, I don't know if you guys, remember in White Wolf, you used to be able to do that in Vampire. Like, let's play your character as immortal before they become a vampire.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to that, except it's completely systemless. Like, I had no character written down other than the personality of the character and a few pictures for reference. And we played through a few days of the freshman orientation, and there was an event that happened the first night after they got in the dorms, and it was the character died. And I was like, holy crap, that's insane. And then they came back, and that's kind of spooky and weird. And so what's cool is that, like, I've gotten so used to when I create a character, I just, I really want to kind of immerse into the mechanics and really get a vibe of what they can do, what they can't do, and figure out where's the story going to go. And what's been so fun with this game, which we're calling, unquenchable because, the character's got some kind of weird phoenix powers or something, is that I don't know where's the periphery? What can this character do or not do?
Yeah. Huh.
It's been really enlightening and super fun so far.
Huh. So I guess, are you guys, at some point, are you going to look at like what you've produced and say, oh, I think this is Monster Hearts, or I think this is Masks, and then choose a game?
Yes, we did that actually Sunday. And it was so quick to make a character because the character was right there. What in the fiction exists for this character statistically? All right, PDQ, here are your qualities, and we're done. Like, it was the fastest character creation because the character was done. We just needed to port that over to Pro's descriptive qualities.
Oh, so you're doing PDQ?
Uh-huh.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Neat. That's very interesting. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I mean, you described it really well. I don't think I have anything to follow up with that.
Oh, thanks.
I'll be curious to see how that proceeds. Well, that just leaves the last game, which was something that Dan and I played on Sunday, which is Willow Palachek's Escape from Tentacle City. Dan, why don't you set it up?
Escape from Tentacle City is about groups of survivors trying to escape from a city that's overrun by tentacles. How's that?
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good summary, actually. Yeah. That's, not bad. Not bad.
The big thing about this, though, is that so every player creates a group, and then you are sort of the GM for that group. So you define what the group is. So like carnies, right? And then everybody else has to make a carny and then you are GMing for them as for the Carney group as they're trying to escape. And then as you're playing, characters will die and the tentacles will kill them until there is only one person left in each group. And then they all kind of band together and try to get to the helipad so they can get out of Tentacle City.
Will it end up with each player having one character?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's a neat way to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Well, what'd you think of it? Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's goofy in all the right ways. So, and especially like it encourages that out of the gate by like giving you the example groups to use, right? Like, Carnies is one of the things, or Circus Freaks is one of the things in the examples. And so we had Circus Freaks, we had furries, and
there was like a furry convention going on.
Right,
so like furries played a really prominent role in the story. Yeah. Furries and tentacles was great.
Yeah. And so things like that, it sets a really good tone and it's real easy to stick to.
Yeah, so our four groups were the aforementioned furries and the carnies or circus freaks. It was kind of a combination carny / circus freak group. And then also we had gay male hustlers and Nordic LARPers.
Right.
So,
Nordic LARPers, yeah.
who performed their Nordic LARP like in a coffee shop, and they incorporated like the coffee shop and the coffee shop's patrons into all their LARPs. So I kind of enjoyed that, even against their will.
It was, they sound really popular at that coffee shop.
They were really cool guys. It was fun. It was really good. It had a couple of mechanical little things that I wasn't super stoked about, but all in all, I think it worked really well. I like how the story is paced. I think the pacing is really good. Like the way it kind of like ramps up and like starts killing the characters off and then pushes them all together to try to escape. Like these disparate characters from the other, come together in one group and try to escape. I also really liked the overall tone of the game. It's about tentacles that are taking over the city. And one of the things I loved in our game was all the different ways that the players like inserted the tentacles into the scenes, like just the ways the tentacles made appearances.
The scenes, yeah.
Yes, yeah. All the different ways that the tentacles like kind of appeared on screen. It had like a very Attack of the Killer Tomatoes vibe. Have you ever seen that movie? It had like that vibe, like really gonzo, really B horror movie. Like every stupid tentacle pun that exists, we probably, like managed to work into the game. The characters are, I think Willow even says like they should be played up like stereotypes, like because it's to kind of like emphasize the B horror movie nature of the game.
Yeah, and one of the inspirations she quotes is like scary movie, right? So you're looking for that level of sophistication in your stories.
It's sophistication. That's probably it's a certain level, all right. 0. The characters it was probably one of the most like tawdry and filthy, like John Waters-esque game sessions I've played in recent memory. But it was super fun. I enjoyed it. And we got to play with Keith, who has that Rolling Boxcar blog. So he's a pretty cool guy. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, it was a good time. I liked it. I thought, it was neat. I don't have anything else to say about it except that it was a good gonzo time. It reminded me of like my favorite sessions of The Final Girl. And that's a terrific compliment, right? From me. So
yeah.
One thing I played Escape from Tentacle City for a few sessions to get through, and one of the things that I enjoyed about it was the map creation. And how, each location on the map is kind of the home base starting off point for your group. And then there's a threat level for that area, so it can get worse. And I like that geographic. And then there are different ways to travel between the different locations. It really felt video gamey to me.
It had a video gamey vibe to it. Yeah.
Like you would even finish the threat and then you scrounge for gear.
Right. Yeah. It had like kind of, it definitely had like a video game vibe in that way. I liked how the threats like kind of, like exploded out of control, like if shit got really bad, like it got bad, like in a radius, like connecting locations, it got bad, it felt like almost board gamey in that way. I like how the characters can sacrifice themselves to like you can sacrifice yourself to either rescue your group or to make shit really, really bad for your group. So you can go either way with that, which is pretty cool. It was fun. It was a good time. I really liked it. So that's all I got to say about it. Dan, is there anything else you want to say about it?
No. The only thing I was going to say is, Rich, I think that Dr. Tom the Frog should play in a game of Escape from Tentacle City, because I think that would be just delightful to see Dr. Tom describing the tentacled horrors all around him and just being horribly offensive.
I don't know. Dr. Tom's pretty light touch kind of frog.
I know, that's why I want to see him like bust through these barriers, right?
Get out of his box
exactly.
a little bit. Yeah.
I'll check with him. He's pretty small-minded about stuff like that. He doesn't hop too far.
Awesome. Let's go to the next segment. All right. So as always, we are going to do Giving Me Life. Let's just, I don't know what order I want to go in here. I know, Steve, yours is the most depressing. Let's do yours first. What's Giving Me Life?
Yeah, and I had to search for even this. Not much Giving Me Life lately. So basically I went off to CheapCon, 2 weekends of a lot of fun and, seeing friends that I don't get to see often because they're, a 3.5 hour drive away or whatever. And then came back and I'm like, oh, that's right. I live in a shithole and I hate all these people around me. Not Houston.
Wow.
Not Houston,
but
the suburbs.
Steve. Yeah.
So there we go. That's giving me, oh no, wait. So the one, shining light in my life right now. God, that's depressing. That's not true. I got shit going on. One good thing.
Of many.
Right. Is, I've recently started counting calories because I'm a fatso. And you would think this sounds depressing, but no, I'm actually super excited about this because, I know this works. I've done this before and I've lost 10 pounds in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Nice.
And I'm using this little app that makes it much easier than the booklet and notepad and pencil I used to have to carry around years ago when I was doing this before. And so I just, it just takes a few minutes to look up whatever thing I'm eating. And the app has entries for specific restaurants or at least generic, chicken tikka masala or whatever. If I'm eating out.
Steve, what app?
Yeah.
What app are you using?
It's called MyFitnessPal. It does other things I'm not engaging yet, but
we will have to friend each other afterwards.
Oh. Is that a thing you can do? I'm new enough to this. I don't know.
Yep, you can.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. And I'm finding that, it's not even that difficult because I fall into the pattern of, not eating until I'm done with the things I should eat, but rather eating until it doesn't taste good anymore or eating until it's all gone, right? Or at most, if there's a ton of food, eating until it's about half gone, right? And I don't have to do that because what I'll do is I'll eat and then I'll reach a point where it's like, when I'm keeping track of things, I'll reach a point where it's like, I don't know, I'm still hungry. And then 10 minutes later, no, it's fine. It's fine. And for snacks, I don't actually have to eat all of the chips. It's okay. I have this little, I have points and I have things to keep track of and it actually works really well. And I don't, I eat healthier and I eat far less when I'm actually paying attention to things. And again, I know it works for me. So I'm actually pretty jazzed.
Nice. Awesome. I love a literal Giving Me Life. Yeah. I've said it before. That's awesome. Cool. Rich, what's giving you life?
Star Wars, all the Star Wars. Man, it's like weeks away. And it's everywhere.
It is. It is.
It is so exciting. We did Star Tours at Disney. My son and I, we went, he's 10. We went at night on Saturday night because my wife was tired. So we're like, we're going to go out. We're going to go. We did Star Tours and he blew his mind. Then of course there's the gift shop and that blew his mind too. And he's been playing Star Wars Battlefront. So he's telling me all the blaster rifles and pointing out stuff. I'm like, you are the best son ever. I love you so much. And there's actually a Build-A-Droid thing where you can take, it's almost like Legos, but they're actual droid parts, like action figures, all Kenner style. And he made his own little droid with a Santa hat. And, oh, dude, all the Star Wars.
So, if you were in LA, then Star Tours would mean you're on a bus going around to famous people's houses and then pointing at them.
I'm so sorry.
Are you going to see 3PO's house? What is this thing?
What is Star Tours? You probably should explain that.
I am so sorry, guys. So Star Tours is it's an exhibit in Hollywood Studios, which is one of the parks at Disney World. And they are building more, but this one's been around for a while. You actually walk in underneath an AT-AT or an AT-AT. My wife was very upset. You can't say AT-AT, you gotta say AT-AT. My son was very specific. It's all, on all-terrain, armored transport, so it could be AT-AT. They had a fight.
Well, actually, what's the answer there? I've always wondered. Is it AT-AT or AT-AT?
It's both. It's a whole galaxy. Right. You can call it whatever
Don't
you want.
listen to him. It's AT-AT.
All right, fair enough.
Okay, my wife loves you now, Steve. So you walk in underneath the AT-AT, you go in line, and
it's definitely not that.
It's not ot. Okay. In Spanish, it would be ot.
Ot, yes. The spiel is that you're going on a galaxy-spanning tour, and you're going to be taking this little speeder, like a space transport. And that's the whole get up. It is you're going to go to Naboo and then the peaceful planet of Alderaan, known as the safest planet in the galaxy. and you get into an actual pod, and then the video screen comes up and everything goes horribly wrong and you're flying all over the place, jumping into hyperspace. And there was actually some aspect, because you're watching a video screen, but the pod actually moves around, so you can get some crazy motion effects going on. And there were actually some stuff from Force Awakens, a couple characters from Force Awakens that were in the thing, which blew my mind. I did not expect that coming. And
God, you're such a nerd. I love it.
It's all the Star Wars. But, we did it twice, and then we did the next day. Wife was, up, and we all went again. That was Sunday, and it was different. There were different aspects, and I'm like, oh crap, I could just do this over and over, I bet. I wonder how many permutations there are. But then we had to go do other rides, because it's a family, and we share. But I could have done more Star Wars.
Awesome. Well, Star Wars giving you life. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it's everywhere. I'm excited about the movie, I have to admit. The only thing that's really kind of dampening my excitement just slightly is, Rich, my partner, has never seen a Star Wars movie. Not one. He's never seen one. Yeah. He's never seen Lord of the Rings. He's never seen Star Wars. He's never seen, there's another one too. It's another big thing he's never seen. Anyway, I don't know how to what's the best way to watch the original trilogy anymore? I don't know what
you
is
just
the way
sit down
to do
and
it.
watch it. Machete order.
No, I mean, are there, can you, because I don't own them. Can you, download them somewhere?
Digital copies, they're Blu-rays.
Okay.
Well,
I think I think there's the YouTube versions where they cut out all the new shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I don't want to watch those, crappy ones from the mid-90s. Those,
I believe, I forget which version of, I think it's the most recent, release of the box set, all 6 movies, that has, as a bonus feature, because George Lucas doesn't like you, the original edits of those movies that, I could be wrong about which release has this, but it's basically the old, Laserdisc versions of the movies. So it's not Blu-ray quality, but it's probably,
but it's those cuts of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll have to check that out. All right, awesome. Well, I'll go next on Giving Me Life. Okay, so the person giving me life, it's a person, is game designer Emily Care Boss. So a few days ago, during the holiday break, Rich and Dan and myself got a message from Emily that says, I'm going to find it here. Hi, Jason, Daniel, Rich. I'm starting to work on the first of the 3 mods inspired by your interview question. May I share the question in the text? Hope you're all doing well. I don't think she'll mind me sharing that private communication. It was pretty innocuous. We were all like, yeah, sure, absolutely, of course. Did not know what she was talking about. We all chimed in and said, yes, of course you can. Weren't 100% sure what she was talking about. And so on back channels, Dan and Rich and I are like, is she talking about the werewolf thing? Is she talking about the werewolf question? I don't know. And Dan is convinced that he knew what she was talking about, straight away.
There was no other interpretation. I don't understand why you guys were so confused.
I don't know. I wasn't sure because we asked her a bunch of questions and I don't know. Anyway, so it just seems so I don't know. And so anyway, so Rich, followed up with her. It's hey, which question are you referring to? Or what are we talking about here? And she said that it was, in fact, she's doing the smooth-chested teenage werewolf, mods for the romance trilogy. I think that's fucking awesome. It's really, really exciting to me.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's really cool. And cause she's an awesome designer. I so admire what she does. And it's really flattering that she's taken this dumb werewolf question and she's gonna actually run with it and make a mod out of it. So, I don't know if we should share the titles, the working titles. Well, they're working titles, so we can share them, right? First Blood, Barking at the Moon, and In the Arms of the Pack. I'm freaking excited.
Oh,
I was
great.
already gonna back I was going to back the Kickstarter when it launched, and now I'm going to back the hell out of it. So that's pretty awesome.
It is really cool. I think this is now a challenge to Jason Morningstar to make the actual game that he talked about with you guys.
Exactly.
Oh, you mean the Fiasco playset?
Yep.
Oh, shit, we was almost done. Like we were well on our way. I mean, yeah.
Well, we would have been, Jason, if you'd ever provided any answers.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I came up with a bunch of good ones after it was over, but you said you weren't going to edit them in, so I just saved them I saved this for myself.
All right.
So, for my own amusement and enjoyment. No, so that's pretty awesome of her. I think that's super cool. I'm glad she saw something in that idea and is going to run with it. So I think it'll be a blast. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. It's giving me life. Dan, what's giving you life?
All right. So mine this week is I've been like weirdly obsessed with the Great British Baking Show.
I've been hearing about this. Yeah.
Like it's a cultural phenomenon, apparently. I don't know. I didn't even know it was such a big deal. It was just something that Netflix was like, hey, you should watch this. And I just do everything Netflix tells me.
I do too. I'm like, yes, Netflix.
Yeah. So I was like, I mean, look, your supercomputers are way smarter than I am. So if you tell me I should watch a weird British baking show, who am I to argue? So I did.
It's true.
And, it's like so weirdly compelling because it's this reality show where they're just baking British shit. And they're all there in a tent, like outside some freaking castle, baking shit. And
why are they in a tent outside the castle?
I don't know. I don't know why they do anything they do in the old country, Jason, but it's the way they do it. I'm not here to question. So they're baking this stuff, and like people get eliminated and all that based on their baking skills. But like the thing is that American reality shows are so fucking soul wrenching and awful to watch because it's just like people who hate each other and are all monsters.
Yeah.
But like everyone on this show is super nice. And like the whole vibe is they're just like hanging out, baking stuff, like getting baking done. And like they're all friends. When they're down to the wire, like if somebody's done, they'll just go help one of the other contestants.
Whoa.
And like,
even though it's a competition?
Yeah.
What?
I think it helps that the prize is they like pat you on the back and they're like, good baking. So it's not like they're duking it out for $1 million or anything.
Yes.
But, so yeah, that's a thing. So Netflix like got the rights to one of the seasons. There's been like 6 seasons in England, and it was apparently the most watched TV show in the UK this year. Was like the 6th season of this show, and so
even more than Doctor Who.
Apparently, I don't know. Like,
yeah, wow.
And so PBS brought it over and Netflix got the rights to it and all this. They're making an American version. And,
see, that's going to fuck it
up,
right?
It will, because like part of the joy that I get out of it is being like so confused by what they're baking. Cause they're like, on this episode, we're going to make pies. And then there's like people just shoving raw meat into pastries. And I'm like, what the fuck are you even doing?
I would watch it just because I have that thing. I've talked about it before. I have that thing where like, I just think English people are so adorable and I just can't handle it. I just can't handle it. Like I used to listen to that old, not old podcast. It was some podcast called, Twitching Curtain, that I think the guy has another show now, but anyway. And I used to just imagine them, like, it was just audio, but I imagine they were all like sitting in tall wingback chairs wearing like a tweed and drinking tea while they talk to me about role-playing games. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So. But yeah, so tonight actually is the first episode of the American version. It's like some Christmas themed thing. Apparently they tried to make a version a couple years ago. So there's 2 judges on the British version, and one's like this dude who bakes bread or something. He's like some bread baking guy, and one of them's like an 80-year-old woman. And so they tried to bring a version over with the baker, and he came over here and they were like, be meaner. And so he was just like a dick the whole time, apparently. And everybody hated the show. And he, slept with his co-host and his marriage fell apart or something while he was shooting the American version. So this time they were like, okay, you're going to stay in England and we're going to bring over the 80-year-old woman. And so she's on the new American version. So we'll see how it goes. But
yeah, awesome.
So that's it.
No, I love it. I'll have to check that out. Let's go to the next segment. Okay, for our main topic today, it's not really a topic. We are going to do the Gauntlet Gift Guide 2015. So that is that's what we're doing today because it's that time of year when we're all buying gifts. And I know you're all out there anxiously navigating drive-through RPG, trying to find things to purchase for your friends, wading through the crowds over at drive-through. Here's the deal. we've got a number of categories with a bunch of recommendations. We're not going to have time to go through all of them on the cast. And so we're going to just do select categories for this. We're going to talk about our recommended gaming adjacent gifts, meaning things that are not necessarily game related, but that are gaming adjacent. We're going to do gifts for the trad gamer in your life, or I should say the more traditional role player in your life, with a mind to convert them to to indie games. We have another category for the trad gamer in your life who you don't want to bother converting to indie games, gifts for that person as well. But we're not going to do that one on the cast. That's going to be for later. We are going to do the gamer who has everything. And then we're going to do, finally, our top gift pick for the season. So the things that we think are just really the bee's knees. And if you're going to give the gift of RPGs, give this thing. We're going to post the full list of categories and game recommendations in a G+ post that goes up around the same time that this episode goes live. So let's start with our gaming adjacent gift. Rich, what is your gaming adjacent gift?
My gaming adjacent gift is something that I found out about at Origins this year. Well, I kind of knew that it existed, but then I saw it in action. I got a demo of Backstory Cards, which comes from Brooklyn Indie Games. It is a really neat deck of cards. You can get it in PDF, but this is one of the few times when I would say I actually prefer the physical product. And what it is, it's just kind of like a conversation starter that you can use. It's built primarily with a Fate focus, but it is really easy to drop it into any other game. I've used it to run a game of Ghost Lines with 6 players. And it was the only way I could draw connections because Ghost Lines isn't really built for like, how do you guys know each other? So
it doesn't really have that. Yeah.
Exactly. So I threw it in. I just threw a backstory cards like you, PC and an individual had a 3-way standoff and you were worse for wear after. It's that kind of questions that we've talked about before.
That's awesome. That's cool.
It's really cool. Great.
Awesome.
And yeah, you totally should check them out. And they've also got genre-specific ones now, which I will be unfortunately buying as well.
Awesome. Backstory cards. Steve, what is your gaming adjacent gift?
So mine is what I've entitled Repurposed Vice. And this is, is probably on the stocking stuffier side of things. The first one, the least interesting one, is the ubiquitous Crown Royal bags. That, if you're a gamer, I'm sure you're familiar
right.
with. Yeah. You repurpose they make really neat, knit drawstring purse bag type things that you use for dice bags. And, when you have to take into account the fact that bars, serve Crown Royal, you realize there's,
Rich,
there we go.
Rich is showing one on camera. Very good. Very good.
Again, great.
Awesome radio.
Great
Thank you, Rich.
And bars have 9 million of these things just lying around, of course, because they have to go through the liquor that provides it. You can get a set of like, however many off of eBay or something or other for, they'll end up being like $1 or $2 a piece, right? And it's just sort of it's what you put another gift in or something, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But better than that, I, at a little like nerdery convention, some friends and I were just sort of wandering through because it was across the street from where we were eating. I encountered a guy selling used, cigar boxes. And these are the nicer, like actually wooden ones, so they're not just press board or whatever with paper over them. And I'm using both as dice containers. One's perfectly the size for dice sets, just like set upright, and it contains them all, and it's great. And the other one I love so very much because it just holds 2/3 of my loose dice, right? But it's cedar. And the dice have been in there long enough that all of those dice smell like cedar now. And this is one of this is one of those feature not a bug things to me.
Right.
I like the smell of cedar than avoid. And you can again go to Amazon or eBay. We'll put a link up in the document of a.
Yeah, we're gonna have links to all this stuff on that post that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, so I followed that link on the page, and I believe it's to a lot of tin empty cigar boxes.
Yes.
So, and I was like, what is Steve doing with his life where he's just like going through cigar boxes in packs of 10?
It just gets that's why I suggested this as, stocking stuffer, because you just give them out to all your
just everyone
friends.
Cigar boxes. Right. That is Christmas.
And you get a cigar box, and you get a cigar box, and you get a cigar box.
And
yes,
shipped,
I love it.
to me, I think they would come out to like $2.70 a piece or something. So it's not that bad.
Awesome. Dan, what is your gaming adjacent gift
All right, so
recommendation?
mine is very far adjacent from gaming. I don't know if this is interesting to people who aren't me, but I feel like there's some overlap here. So it's a book called Improvisation at the Speed of Life, and it's by Dave and TJ, who I've talked about before on the cast, who do long form improvised plays. And so it's like them sort of talking about how they developed the format and like how they actually go about putting on one of these plays. But it has like really good advice for gaming, I feel like, because what they do is a lot closer to what we do when we're telling like an actual interesting, not gonzo story. Right. And so that's kind of what they specialize in, which is different than most improv books you would get, where it's like, you know, oh, say yes to everything and always say yes and like give people like, there's like the idea of like giving someone a gift, like defining things about them and all of this and like how to hit jokes and do callbacks and stuff like that, which like is completely opposite their approach. And so they're all about, you know, like finding who the character is and like playing true to the character and all of this. And so just a really super interesting read.
That's super relevant to role-playing games.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know what's relevant, man.
I think it is. It's awesome. Let's go to our next gift-giving category. I don't have one for that category. Not yet. So let's see. This is a living list. So we're going to be adding to it as the week progresses. Okay. Gifts for the traditional gamer in your life who you might want to convert to indie RPGs. Rich, what do you got?
I am going with Wandering Monster High School. This is a game from Bold Pueblo Games I backed on Kickstarter. There were like 60 people who backed this game. The hook for your more conventional style gamer is that the setup for this game is you're going to create a wandering monster from a D&D type world. Most of your conventional gamers, I'm assuming, have played D&D. That's their, flavor choice. There are some GURPS folks, there are, champions folks, but I'm going with the default setting that they're probably have played D&D, Pathfinder, something along those lines. Yeah,
that's probably safe. Yeah.
And it's got a very flexible rule set to create. You can play a teenaged ooze or slime or even a Medusa, a dragon, whatever you want. And they're all going to high school in this fantasy realm. And they're high school hijinks and your stats are grades in different areas. It's hilarious. I have had a ton of fun running this game and I really feel like it just slides into that easy niche of like, I know this whole thing. We're just going to set it in our homebrew world, and I'm going to play that crazy centaur that everybody hated, his teenage son. So I think
awesome. No, I feel that because when we played Golden Sky Stories using the Fantasy Friends mod for that, I remember liking Fantasy Friends better than normal Golden Sky Stories because it had those fantasy touchstones that I grew up with and that I knew well. So yeah. And
the D&D puns in this thing for classes and everything, they make me laugh, like genuinely laugh. They're very funny.
That's awesome. And this sounds like a much better D&D adjacent thing than Munchkin. So
I was just going to say, Munchkin also has a lot of hilarious puns about D&D. There's one thing, it's called a broadsword. You can only use it if you're a woman. Hilarious.
You guys get it?
Yeah.
Get it?
That'll be funny the 8th time you've played it in one game.
Dan, I love your recommendation here. Anything from episode 29.
Yes.
Do you care to elaborate on that?
No, go listen to episode 29 because it was an episode specifically about like good intro story game. I couldn't think of anything that we didn't cover there. I'm all done with this category.
Awesome. Sounds good. Moving on. Steve, what's your recommendation for the trad gamer you're going to convert to indie RPGs?
So I wanted an in to the, for the trad gamer, assuming I wouldn't be like playing the game with them. Because if I was, I'd go, Final Girl or Fiasco or whatever, something where I can facilitate, right? So I went with Microscope under the assumption that, hey, traditional gamer buddy, you can use this game to to collaboratively set up the world you and your group are gonna play in whatever rule-heavy traditional thing that requires you to have 17 different, polyhedral dice for. And Microscope, I think, functions very nicely in that way. and it introduces them to concepts like collaboratively creating things and not stepping on other players' toes and reacting to other players' contributions and building on them, that sort of thing, and allowing you to get invested in other players' creative contributions.
Right.
Which is something you see a lot of in story games.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about going at that direction, but when we played the Deep Forest, we had a guy just show up, and it's the only game he's ever played with us, but he showed up and we made like the map of the forest and did all of our stuff. And then he took that stuff home with him and he was like, I'm going to use this as the beginning of my next D&D game. And we never saw him again.
Got what he came for.
Success?
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, did we win that one? I'm not sure.
He seemed happy about it, so whatever.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I do have one for this category. I'm going to say, here's what you do. You go get a softcover copy of Dungeon World, right? Because I think Dungeon World is obviously, I love Dungeon World, but you're not just going to give them Dungeon World. You're going to also print off the Dungeon World Beginner's Guide. Now, this is a guide that was written by, I can never remember who wrote it, but, it might have been Sage or Adam. I don't remember, but
I thought it was just some random dude from Something Awful.
Yeah, I think it was just a random guy, but let me tell you what, the Dungeon World Beginner's Guide, I think, is even more important than the Dungeon World book in some ways, because the Dungeon World Beginner's Guide actually really gives like great examples and explanations for how Dungeon World is supposed to go, but like in a sort of like frame of mind or context of like the traditional fantasy, D&D game, right? And so, I read the Dungeon World book. I read the Apocalypse World book for that matter. And I kind of got it. I wasn't 100% on it at that point, but I kind of got it. But then I read the Dungeon World Beginner's Guide and it all locked into place. And for me, it was like, oh man, this is exactly how I wanted to be doing Dungeons and Dragons all those years ago. And I'm in love with this. This is for me. And I think that's a winner. I think Dungeon World with a printed out copy of the Dungeon World Beginner's Guide is a great route to go for the trad gamer, to get them, to kind of get them to stretch their wings gently, as far as gaming goes. So it's still a dungeon crawl, right? But, okay, cool. Shall we move on from this category, guys? Let's see. Let's go to gifts for the gamer who has everything. I don't even know what the fuck that means, but it's just one of those categories you always see on gift guides. So the such and such who has everything. So we're going to say the gamer who has everything. Interpret it however you wish. Let's go down the line. Dan, what did you recommend?
So I also didn't know what this meant. I didn't know if this was supposed to be gaming stuff or not. So I went gaming adjacent again on this one. Mine it's a book. It's called Realms, The Art of Tony DiTerlizzi. And he is the guy who did all of the art for the old Planescape, like second edition D&D stuff. Super distinctive art style. Like anyone who played D&D in that period of time would recognize it immediately. And like just super distinctive and really interesting. And I've always loved that art. Yeah. And so it's just a big like coffee table book full of his art.
My first exposure to role-playing games was a friend basically lending me all his D&D books. Mm-hmm. And among that stack was the second edition D&D Monster Manual or Monsters Manual, whatever. And I would, just go through those pages and get absorbed in all the craziness therein, right? And I came to realize at a certain point that all the art I really loved, like all of it, had TD written in the corner. And I checked had to flip back and check the artists, and the only TD in the credits was Tony DiTerlizzi. I'm like, I've been a big fan ever since. Yeah, I really love that guy.
Yeah, I bought Blood Wars cards. That was like a collectible card game back when I was super into Magic, and I bought Blood Wars cards. Like, I think I played it one time.
Planescape CCG?
It was, yeah. Okay. I think I played it like one time, but I bought a shitload of cards because they were super cheap and they were just filled with his artwork. So.
Awesome. You want to state the name of that one again?
It is Realms, The Art of Tony DiTerlizzi.
Awesome. Cool. Rich, what are you going to get the gamer who has everything?
Oh, the gamer who has everything has all the cool stuff that's just recently back to all the Kickstarters. The Ralph Mosses.
Kickstarters, yeah.
I would go with John Wick's Big Book of Little Games. This is a collection of a number of his, like, small, like, between 5 to 10 page games, including the Flux, which is a cool way to lace, if you want to play a bunch of different game systems, but you want to try to play the same character, this is a way to string them together, kind of an overlay of mechanics. to Wilderness of Mirrors, which is his attempt to solve for planning sessions that are horrible things to sit through for players and GMs alike. It's a spy game, which
okay.
Yeah,
which is pretty fun.
I've wanted to run that for a really long time. I just never got it on the calendar. But
I would play that with you.
I've wanted to play that
run
for
it
a really
before.
long time.
It's good. Eldritch High, which is kind of a Harry Potter mixed with Cthulhu. And Cat, which is one of his more famous, really small games where you play cats. And a number of other little bitty games that are really fun. And I don't see a whole lot of love for the big book of little games, but there's cool little games there, and it's not too terribly expensive in PDF.
You know, the Gauntlet hasn't really explored John Wick's oeuvre too much, I don't think. We haven't really done many
Shotgun Diaries. Start with Shotgun Diaries.
Okay, all right. We should do that.
Yep.
We should make 2016 the year of exploring John Wick, Dan. Let's make that happen.
okay.
Please.
Does the big book of little games have, I think it's called 300 or something? It's about, I believe.
It does not.
Never mind.
That's $5
Moving
bucks,
on.
though. You can grab that for $5.
Speaking of John Wick, there's a sequel to that movie John Wick coming out, so now we get to have that weird experience where whenever we see the words John Wick on the internet or whatever, we think, what? Is this something about John Wick, the role-playing game designer? And it's not. And so, yeah, because that's what happened when the first John Wick movie came out. I was practically every day like, what? Is this a thing about John Wick on Yahoo or whatever? No, it's not.
Identical experience, yes. And by the way, I have something I want to insert into this category transferred from another one.
Please do. Please do.
I want to recommend Dragon Scale dice bags. And
okay.
I almost didn't go with these because I thought they might be a little ubiquitous. And then I tried to find places to sell them online, and it's not that easy. But I got this as a gift for a friend's birthday earlier this year, and I've seen two different versions. One of them is knit, with like dragon scale shaped things on the outside. But the one that I've seen at, Austin's Dragon's Lair, and the one I got as a gift, it's basically a chainmail dice bag with dragon scales on the outside. They're beautifully
Are
layered.
these actual dragon scales?
Yes.
Okay.
They are. That's why it's a little expensive.
All right.
They're beautifully layered, and they make a, satisfying crunchy noise when you set the bag down. And then again, when you pick it back up, it's got that nice little, layered slinking noise type of thing. It's a very tactily.
I like your descriptions of these sounds. It's really good.
It's a very tactily
you're selling me on this.
Satisfying experience dealing with one of the bags. And they come in all sorts of different colors.
They look really
beautiful.
cool. Yeah, they look pretty badass. I saw the link. I was like, oh, these are pretty cool. I'm not usually into like stuff like that. Like I'm one of these people. We've had this discussion with Kristen before. I'm one of these people where to me, the devices you play with are functional, right? Mm-hmm. I occasionally like a pretty die, but for the most part, I don't really give a shit. Like I just want the dice to roll. I want the bags to hold things, but I can kind of get behind something a little bit extravagant, like the dragon scale dice bag. So
especially as a gift. Cause you don't have to,
yeah. For the gamer who has everything.
Right.
Like, I bet you don't have this. Right. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I have one for this category as well. I'm going to suggest that something you can do for the gamer who has everything is maybe you give them the gift of a really awesome, like, RP experience. Okay. And I would like to say that a really awesome RP experience that you might be able to gift someone is the way we play Society of Dreamers. We play Society of Dreamers by candlelight. That's the principal thing we do. It's really cool. It's always super evocative and a little scary and just a really, really badass experience. Like every time we've done it, like live face to face by candlelight, it's been one of my favorite role playing game sessions ever. It's so cool. So I think you can get the implements you need and then just like run that game for that person as a nice, beautiful gesture, or you can just give them the tools they need to run it themselves. And you could do so relatively inexpensively. You can give them a PDF of Society of Dreamers. I don't think you need the full book, like an actual physical book. It's not a very long book. A PDF is sufficient. Get them a PDF of Society of Dreamers. Get them some tea light candles. Get the little Ouija board thing that you use, print that out and laminate it. So it's really nice and reusable. Maybe get like a cool coin or lens or something to use as a planchette to move along the Ouija board.
I was playing with friends recently and we used a Masonic coin.
Oh, nice. See, that's cool. That's a good idea, right? It's a nice little touch, yeah. And if you really want to go like extra special, you can get like little little like cloth bound or little small leather bound like journals, or little notebooks to use for your journaling procedure in the game. So, I think that would make put it in a nice box. That'd be a really, really cool gift. Or just, run it for them. So so
if you're going to run it, you just show up at their house you're wearing a bow and you're like, are you ready for your present now?
Exactly. Well, okay.
Your gift is me.
Okay, so we're going to get to the last category, which is our top gift picks, and I want to spend some time on those. We kind of blew through the other ones. We're going to do our top gift picks, but before that, I want to just reemphasize that we're going to post the full list that we made, along with we're going to have all kinds of cool stuff, and I hope that members of the Gauntlet will also in the comments post their suggestions for the various categories as well, because I think that'd be cool. So let's do our top gift picks for Gauntlet Gift Guide 2015. Let's start with Steve. What is your top gift pick?
So my top gift pick is the Jason box.
The Jason box. It is just me with a bow on my head, right? But in a box.
Except you're in a box.
Okay. All right. Okay.
We'll punch holes in it. You're good. So
that's good. I don't want to die.
Last year at our Krampusnacht party, our holiday party, we had a Secret Santa / Satan gift giving thing.
Secret
White
Satan.
Elephant
It's
gift
called
giving
Secret
thing,
Satan.
Yeah. And somebody, I think Farrell, brought to the gift giving thing a what we're calling Jason box. And it was one of the most fought over ones aside from Daniel Fowler's Insano Monsters Manual written by Crazy People.
That Monster Manual coloring book thing was pretty awesome. But the Jason box is really popular. Describe what it is.
So the Jason box is it's basically a kit contained in a box. I realize 3 of my suggestions here are containers for things, but whatever. It's a gaming kit, basically. You get a wooden box or, something that looks fairly nice, but is functional from a hobby supply store or something. I think Farrell even stained his nicely, so it looked really cool. And within that box, you have all of the things you need for story gaming on the go, basically. You've got your pencils and markers and note cards. You've got counters and dice. And it's everything that you would be expected to use.
Playing cards as well.
Cards. Yeah. Everything you might expect to need for 9 out of 10 story games, pretty much.
Absolutely.
And it's nice and compact. I love the idea. And we call it the Jason box. In your honor, of course, because you had the prototypical one in the Gauntlet, where you're anytime we're playing a game and realize, we don't have X thing, you're like, hold on, let me grab it, and you take a top off your box.
Hold on 1 minute, I do.
Right.
My Hangouts gamers won't know this about me, but the proto Jason box is pretty fucking intense. It's a crate. It's a crate. Inside the crate, there is that smaller box, which we're calling the Jason box, the spin-off Jason boxes, that has your playing cards, your markers, your pencils, your tokens, all that, your index cards, so many index cards. You got all that stuff in there. You can use that stuff to run so many games. I go one step further. Inside the crate, there is an accordion folder filled with laminated play sheets for various games. So I can do Dungeon World, Apocalypse World, Monster Hearts. I can do all those games on the fly. Inspectors. I can play like 50 or 60 games on the fly out of this crate. Okay?
Nice.
And also, I've got my story game names project book in there as well. Yeah. I've got all that stuff. So, my Fiasco bag, and finally, my 2 or 3 popular games that we run a lot, like Dungeon World or whatever, right? Monster Hearts, that kind of thing. So the books for those. That's the OG Jason box, and it's pretty awesome. I'm just gonna say that, throw that out there. This other little box is cool too, but.
So, Jason, you're basically the gaming equivalent of a prepper. You've got
I really am.
Bug out bag.
I know. It's so true.
When the bombs
it's the
drop,
bug out bag of gaming.
Grab that crate and we can play Final Girl if nothing else. No food or potable water, but we've got Final Girl.
You guys get the bottled water and the canned corn, the creamed corn, all that bullshit. I will have all the game shit, and we'll be good to go. We can just play games till we die. And you know what else? Just on this theme or whatever. Jankcast always talks about doing role-playing game retirement home,
Oh, yeah.
Is that the best idea ever? Like a retirement home where you just play role-playing games all day? I don't know. That's my dream. That's my fantasy. To have my food brought to me already slightly masticated and playing role-playing games. It's my fucking dream. I would be living the dream. All right. Awesome. Yeah, that's very nice. A JSON box. It's very flattering. You guys call it that too. I think that's really cute. Okay. Awesome. Well, Rich, what is your top gift pick?
Oh, this is my top gift pick because it is a gift I've consistently given for several years in a row. It is Epimus.
Epimus.
Yes, you guys found out about Epimus when you interviewed Epidai Ravishal.
Yeah, we did not know what Epimus was at the time.
And now you've been educated. You must take part in Epimus. Every year, Epi gets together with a bunch of small press game designer friends and creates different bundles of PDFs. And they're very inexpensive, and often this is where you can find little treasures. Like this is where Meg Baker did her first, Nature's Nature's Walk type games. That she has the Kickstarter that's about to end right now.
It's over already, I believe.
Yeah. Oh, it did end. Oh, okay.
I think it's ended. Yeah.
Cool. So she did that, and that's where Vincent Baker released his Beatles gay sex game thing.
Oh yeah, spin the beetle, then fuck me. Yeah, that one. Spin the beetle and fuck. That's what it's called, right?
I tell you, this is a great collection because there will be some unheard of, small, up and coming, kind of not a whole lot of exposure games. There's a lot of your classic things that have already made the round, but maybe you didn't pick up. And they're done in different flavors. And what's great is you guys already know this, but for those who haven't listened to that episode, you totally should. You get the games for a friend and you get them too. And you get them early so you can read them up and run them for them on Epimus, which is right before Christmas.
Nice. What are the price points on these bundles?
Price points range, in the perfect, you're kind of a friend, range.
Okay, good. A variety of ranges. Good. Okay.
Yeah, like the $10 to $20-ish range. Okay. It's perfect.
Okay, nice. Okay, good, cool. Yeah, listeners should definitely go check out, Epidai Ravishal, when we had him on a few episodes ago. That was a great episode, by the way. If you haven't listened to that, listeners, you need to go fucking listen to it. It was really good. He talked about that. It sounded pretty cool. We should be hearing about that soon, right, Rich? Isn't that coming up?
Yes,
really soon?
Coming very soon.
Cool. I will be sure to post. I told Epi I would too. I'll post that on G+, so everybody can get in on that, in real time when it's happening. So, cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say about Epimus?
It's just the best. I love Epimus. So
I'm excited. Yeah. I didn't know what it was before this, and I'm stoked. So I can't wait to see what it's all about. Awesome. Oh, who wants to go next?
There is an easy segue.
There really is.
I don't want to do like two Epi things in a row. I don't do the easy segue. Dan, you go first. Dan, what's your top gift pick?
Well, mine is super straightforward, but it is the Night Witches book along with the cards, because that game is fantastic. The book is beautiful. Yep. It has the art is wonderful, and it has the historical stuff in there as well. It makes it just a great book to read. But in addition to that, it's an awesome game at the table, and it has the cards that come with it, which you wouldn't think would add nearly as much as it does, but having the picture of your character and all of your medals laid out in front of you and all of that is just fantastic. And so, yeah.
Those cards are badass. Those cards are so cool. When I first got them, because they were part of the Kickstarter pledge that I was at, so I was going to get them no matter what. But I got them and I was like, these look cool, but is this really going to even do anything at the table? I was very skeptical. I'm always skeptical of stuff like that, and like I said, I like things to be functional at the table, right? And but no, they're great. They're so cool. They are so awesome at helping you visualize what the characters look like, helping you pick the right, just the act of choosing your Night Witch. What do they call them? Your Airwoman. The act of choosing her from those pictures feels really I don't know, it feels cool. You just really feel like you're capturing the essence of your character in your selection. I think the little planes are helpful too. Little planes that help you remember who's in which plane, during a night run.
I forgot about those.
It's cool. The medals, it's cool. Yeah, it's then some of the cards have little questions that you can use to do fast character creation with. Really, really sweet. The book is beautiful. Yeah. Are you giving us a hint at your possible favorite game of 2015 here?
No, actually I'm not.
Oh, okay. All right. That's good. I'm very intrigued now because I thought for sure that's what you'd pick. So
that's just a super cool physical thing. So that's probably my top physical RPG.
As far as a gift as far as gift giving. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. That makes sense. Awesome. Well, Night Witches. That's a good one. I'm going to go with, for my top gift pick, we're going to throw more love to Epediah Ravishal here. I'm going to say Worlds Without Master. Now this is not a physical thing. This is only in PDF. But I'm going to say that I think I've said it when we had him on the show. I think Worlds Without Master is so fucking cool. The value is so great. And there's kind of something there for everybody. You know, I think no matter where you fall on the gaming spectrum, there's something for you in Worlds Without Master. You've got fiction, you know, so like there's some fiction there, which is nice, especially if you have like, if you've ever had your toe in fantasy stuff, like if you like fantasy stuff or swords and sorcery stuff, you're really going to love the fiction. I think the games are great. I think that these games are the sorts of games that can also serve to kind of like, you know, I think if you're into like Conan, if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, and then you get Worlds of That Master, I think these are games you might play, you know, just because of the theme of the games. Yeah. In addition to being mechanically really sound games, the little lists, like that's something that OSR people love. They love lists of shit. You can give these to your OSR friends, right? OSR, they love a fucking list, right? I mean, so it's true. They do. They love it. They love a list. They love a list you can roll dice and pick things from. Give it to your OSR friends, you know, give them Worlds of That Master. It's got badass tables. It's got comics. It's just so fucking cool. The art is great. You can do, you know, I think a great gift would be to like buy all 10 of the available issues and gift those as a PDF or like a bundle of PDFs to a friend. You'd be able to do that for less than $40. That's, you know, but if you don't want to go that route, you can like maybe, you know, pick out some choice ones, like maybe the one that has Swords Without Master in it, or one of the games that you like, or whatever. Pick out a few of them, print them up on nice paper, make them look good. There's different routes you can go with it, but I just think Worlds Without Master is going to be, you know, it's one of those things where I think there's still a lot of gamers out there who don't know about it, and you're going to surprise them. You're going to really like, you're going to knock their socks off with it. So that's my top gift pick. Worlds Without Master. Cool. Well, is there anything else we want to say about gift giving, guys?
Ooh, I think I'm good.
Is that no?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Great.
I have this to say about gift giving. I really need to use the bathroom. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, and
okay, very good.
we have less than 30 minutes until the American baking show comes on. So
okay, awesome. All right, very good. All right, we'll get out of here. That was our podcast, guys. If you want to get in touch with us, you should go to Google Plus and search for our community. We are called the Gauntlet. Just find us on G Plus Communities. We also have an online hangout community, which always has between 16 and 20 games that you can join. It's called Gauntlet Hangouts. Go join us there. We are on Twitter as well at Gauntlet RPG. Please go join our Twitter. If you're doing Twitter, go join us on Twitter, or do whatever you do on Twitter to follow us or do whatever. Go do that on Twitter, because I want all the Twitters. I want them all. I want all the Twitters. I want all the Twitter stuff for the Gauntlet. So let's do that. Cool. You guys, I'm really happy with how this episode went. I don't know what I'm doing now, and I'm just rambling. Have a great evening. I love you all. I love everyone. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next week, when it also won't be Christmas yet. And I'll say Merry Christmas again. All right. Bye.
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 yeah.
Sorry, I was in the close the episode death spiral that happens sometimes.
Are we official? Are we done?
I think we're done. Yeah.
We're done. We're totally done. Yeah. Go to the bathroom. Run to the bathroom.